Hello and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be what's known as the cockpit drill and what we do when we first get into a car as a driver. Okay, so for my learners, when I've got in the car for the first time, I'm going through this routine, and it's really important that you get this right and you get yourself comfortable, because it's quite nerve-wracking to try and drive in the first place. So we try and get things right and set in a nice, comfortable manner. Okay, and some of this is part of safety as well. So there's 5 things I get my learners to do at the start of every lesson, and that's the cockpit drill. It's DSSM. Okay, so think of that as in you're checking on your dad, your 3 sisters and your mum to try and help them remember them letters. Okay, so first thing is the D. So we're going to check the doors are shut. Okay, really important. I've seen people driving around, the doors slightly ajar. I actually remember when I was a teenager, I got into the back of a taxi, expecting my mum to get into the back as well, and I only half closed the door, and so it wasn't fully shut. My mum went into the front seat in the passenger seat, and as the driver was driving around, he went round a roundabout and the door flung open, and then I'm rapidly trying to grab it and open up. So I wish that taxi driver knew about this and check the doors are shut. Okay, so to do that, yes, your screens and that on modern cars will tend to do that, but this particular one doesn't actually tell you until your engine's running. I'd rather it, nice and closed before we even think about that. So a quick, easy way of doing it is just looking in the wing mirrors, where you have a seal where the window meets the door. Yes, this one's a rubber seal. It's just a quick look in, and is that flush all the way past the passenger door to the back of the car? Because if not, you'll see a slight deviation, and then you know it's not shut. Okay, and then just quickly close the door or ask somebody to help see. Close it. I'm not very good at editing because I'm new to this. However, I'm going to try and insert a little video in this section so you can actually see what I mean in terms of visually. Okay, so once all the doors are shut, you want to be thinking about getting your seat in the correct position, and this is really important, because if you're not in the correct position, 2 things: you're not going to be able to control the car properly, in terms of with your feet, with the pedals, and 2, you're not going to be comfortable. Okay, and that's a really important thing, because as a new driver, you're going to be tense anyway and nervous about taking the car onto a road. So you want to be nice and relaxed as much as you can. So as a driver, I'm always trying to be as relaxed as I can, so that actually I see more, I can feel what the car's doing, I can hear what the car's doing, and then I can operate the car in a better way. Okay, so to help us do that, first of all, you want to be looking at getting the height of the seat right and the back of the seat right. Okay, now in terms of the height of the seat, how I get my students, I get them to get their eyes about halfway up the windscreen. Okay, so I'm looking nice and far and nice and straight. Okay, so a quick tip to help you do that, it's just like looking at top, bottom of the windscreen, and then rest your eyes in the middle, and are you actually sat in the middle? Okay, and one reason why I'm trying to get my students to do this is because I actually want them to look as far as the horizon. We don't want to be looking just over the bonnet, which is a common mistake for learners. Okay, because then you're worried about hitting things, but actually you won't see things early enough to be able to deal with them. Okay, so it's just a case of raising or lowering your seat. Most cars will do this. Okay, in fact all modern cars, I can't remember last time I got in a car that I couldn't move the seat, and just get my eyes where I want them. The next part of the seat we do is the back of the seat. Okay, and that really is main part, is actually I'm in a nice comfortable position. Because if I'm too upright, I'm tense already here, I can't relax. So just getting the seat, I'm happy with that. Okay, with that as well, in this kind of position, you don't really want to see the bonnet. A lot of people think I've got to see the bonnet to see where the front of the car is, but you don't need that. And as I've just shown there, if I need that in certain circumstances, it's not going to be very often, but in a tight situation, I can just lean up and see over and see where the front of my car is. So I'm not worried about seeing that, because I don't want to be looking down, I want to be looking far and seeing things nice and early. Okay, so that's getting your seat in a comfortable position and a good height to be able to see things. The next part is setting your seat by the pedals. Okay, And in a manual car, we'll set the seat by the clutch. Okay, some people think the brakes is most important, but actually set it by the clutch. And the reason for that is the clutch actually goes further down than the brake pedal does. Okay, when fully. And when we operate in the clutch to change gear, we want that clutch pedal all the way down to the floor to be able to change gear. I will explain a bit more what's happening inside the clutch another time, but that's what we need to do. Okay, and your foot position on the pedal is really important, because what we actually want is the ball of our foot to the bottom of our toes at the bottom of the pedal, so kind of like that. Okay, again, hopefully I'll be able to do a video another time where I can show my feet, but that's what we want. And a lot of people naturally will put the ball of the foot in the middle of the pedal when they're operating it, but this can cause issues when you're trying to do real clutch control when the car is really slow, or trying to get it moving in the first place. People with larger feet as well, if they put their foot too high on the clutch, they'll actually catch underneath where the actual pedals go, and then that makes it awkward to actually control the clutch as well. So it's ball of your foot at the bottom. And then in terms of helping with that distance, what you kind of want to do, and I'm going to change the camera angle just to help show this. There's a little bit of a tip. Your leg and your thigh should be just nicely rested on the seat. If it feels like you're pushing into the seat, then you're probably too far away because you're stretching. Okay, and if you've got a gap underneath your thigh, you're probably sat too close and feel a bit cramped. Sorry about my hand being in the way. As I did say in my about me video, these are going to be mostly unedited. Okay, so that's my seat. I'm in a good position, nice and comfortable, nice relaxed. I can see plenty of distance down the road. So the second nest that we do is the steering wheel. And I get a lot of learners in my car for the first time not even knowing that the steering wheel moves. Okay, which it does. We have a release lock, and then your steering wheel come up and down, and it'll come out and go in. Okay, obviously different cars, it will vary with differences how much it'll do that. But to help set the steering wheel, what I get my learners to do is put their arms out straight, and you see there, this part of my hand nicely rested on the steering wheel. Okay, doesn't want to be a risk, because then you could be too close, and you don't want to be stretching out with your fingertips, because then you're going to be too far away. Okay, and the height of it, I set the top of the steering wheel, the top of my dashboard, which obviously you can't see, but I'm setting it so that I can see all of my information on the dashboard, and I can see all the windscreen. I don't want it blocking any of that. Okay, so nicely there. And the final check what I do is I just slide my hands around it, a different stroke and a pair, and kind of get around it nice and comfortably. I'm happy with that, so I'll lock the steering wheel away. Okay, and one reason why you don't, where we say like that, is so that when you operate a steering wheel, your hands come back a little bit, so you've got, again, a nice little kink in your elbows. Okay, so that it's nice and comfortable rather than reaching out for it. And what you never really want to do on the steering wheel is have your arms out straight. Okay, so imagine if you were like that, okay, and you're in a collision, an accident. Our elbows are not designed for that kind of impact, so I never want my arms straight. I want a nice relax. So in case of an accident, the worst happens, I am not crushing my elbows. Okay, I know that sounds a bit extreme, but it is an important fact. Okay. Right, my steering wheel is complete. Now it's time for the seatbelt. Okay, now a lot of people jump in the seat and get the seatbelt on early, but I don't do that, because what happens if I get in, put my seatbelt on, start sorting my seat out, and then I find out one of my doors open. Yes, don't want to be doing that, because then I've just got to do everything again. So with the seatbelt, what I do is with my left hand, I'll try and find the buckle. Yeah, and actually bring it out a little bit so I can get my right hand through up near where the steering wheel comes out. Sorry, where the seatbelt comes out. Give myself some slack, lock the seatbelt away, and then I slide my thumb across that seatbelt so that it's nice and flat on my torso. Because again, what I don't want it twisted, because one, that's just uncomfortable, But two, again, worst case scenario, if I was in an accident, I want that impact spread across my torso rather than impacting in one place. Okay, I get a lot of girls come into the car lessons and they say about, yeah, they'll have the seatbelt like that in the passenger seat. The seatbelt's not designed for that. It's not going to protect you if you're in the accident. Okay, so any ladies out there that are doing that, I advise you stop doing that straight away. Okay, right, so that's my seatbelt done. Now it's just time for the mirrors. Okay, and I start with my rear view mirror. For me, it's my most important one. Okay, we can get to see a lot of what's happening behind us just from that rear mirror, and that's why when you come to a driving test, the examiners will insist on having a rear view mirror in the car if there's not one there. Okay, so with that, again, I'm hoping to put onto this video a couple of pictures or something, or a bit of video to help you see what I see. But basically what I'm trying to do is I set the mirror so I see the edge of the passenger seat or the edge of the window, okay, depending on which one's out. I don't have it directly straight back because I want to see more of the road on my right hand side. So if I have a little bit of an angle, I can see a little bit more of what's happening on the road, and that's going to keep me safer than seeing the headrest. Okay, and then in terms of the height of it, again, a bit like the front window, I'm trying to see as far as possible down that road but behind me. So I'm setting the horizon halfway along the wing mirror, rear view mirror. I did tell you these videos are going to be unedited. Okay, so again, horizon halfway up that mirror so that I can see as far behind me as possible. Okay, then in terms of my side mirrors, I would set this side mirror so that I can see some of my car. Now, how much varies, and different people think different things. Now, me personally, I like to see about half of my vehicle in there. Some people talk about 2 fingers, but for me that's a bit seeing too much of my vehicle, so I'm seeing less of the road, and that's where my dangers are coming from. But I do need to see enough of my vehicle to help me understand my position against any obstacles. Okay, so how I set it is in a modern car like this. Don't really need power. I can see what's known as the B pillar, so I'm seeing about half of my vehicle, half the length of it in that mirror. Okay, and then again, same as with the front and the rear, I want to see as far down that road as possible. So again, I'm going to set that horizon halfway up that mirror. Okay, and then on the left hand side, I actually do that one slightly different. Now it's a bit down to personal preference, but I do find it helps if I do it this way. So on the left hand side, I'm still seeing the same amount of my vehicle, so I'm seeing half of my vehicle in terms of the length of it, but I set that horizon a little bit higher. So I've got the horizon more to 3/4 up that wing mirror, and what that does, that just helps me see a little bit lower when coming to reversing. So say for instance a parallel park, when you're trying to get close to that curb, I need to see a bit lower. I don't have to be stretching really up like this because it makes it more uncomfortable, makes it difficult to operate the pedals if I'm doing that. Okay, so I'd just like to see a little bit lower, and again I'm going to try and insert some videos or pictures to see what I'm seeing, but you can still see far enough down the road to see what's actually coming towards you. Okay, once that's done, that's my Cockpit Drill finished. And then again, what I'll just do, just sit back in my seat. Am I comfortable? Can I see what I want to be seeing? And can I press the clutch how I want it? I'm happy. We're good to think about starting to get the engine going and driving. More on that in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Again, please any comments below and what you'd like to know more about maybe, or anything you may disagree with that we could have a discussion about. I'm happy for any feedback. And if you do find this video helpful, please give me a like and I'll make some more. Thank you very much.